there's so many new faces, a few that I haven't met yet, and yet really delighted that we have this opportunity to just take stock of what it is that we have been working on for the last 3 to 6 months, and get your feedback on a few of the initiatives that we have going, and hopefully also celebrate what it is that this college has been able to accomplish over the last 2 or 3 years. As we were putting the slides together and getting ready to do this, James reminded me that it might be good, given the new faces and the new additions to our team, that you all might want to know what it is that I was assigned as a task when I was first brought in into the college. So I thought I'd use that as the framework to give you an update on the college and where it is that we're going, and some of the incredible work that the faculty and staff have been working on. So, for those who are not familiar and those who have chosen to forget, the charge that I was assigned when I first came on by the president and the provost were the following 4. Asked me to take a look at the leadership of the college at different levels and say whether these are the individuals or what is the structure that you would like to see happen. Okay? The second was, for 21st century agriculture, what do you all collectively see as a strategic vision, and what would a strategic plan look like for this college? Okay? The third was around the experiment station and the extension services, and oftentimes there's a disconnect of it, and it is structurally disconnected, and I'll say that. Structurally disconnected for the reason that extension does not report to the College of Agricultural Sciences. Extension reports to the Office of Engagement, and as a result, they are separate from us, even though we have extension appointments within the College of Ag Sciences. Okay? But how do we align and work together? And then the fourth piece was around external relationships. Our relationships with our commodity groups, the business community, and our alumni and others. So those were the 4 things that we were assigned to do. And somewhere last fall, a year ago, James and I were looking at all of these different projects that we were working under the rubric of these 4. And we were working on 32 separate projects at that time as a college. So there was a lot of dust that we kicked up. And so there's a lot of sense that, geez, where is this college going? Because so many different things being thrown at the wall, right? So hopefully today you'll see some of these things come together. Okay? And in presenting this to you, please, our hope is either today or the next day or within the next several weeks or whatever your time frame is, send me a note, send James a note, send us a note saying, hey, these things you guys are working on, good. You guys need to stop doing all of these other things. And trust me, I have a very thick skin. I don't claim that what we have done over the last 3 years, I have done especially, I have done it all right. I have stumbled, I've fallen, and many of you have picked me up. Okay. So I don't stand here saying we did it all right. But today I'm going to talk to you of things that I think we did right. So all the things that we didn't do right, you can write to me. Okay? So on the leadership side, you will see new faces in our leadership, on our leadership team. And I had thought earlier this summer that all of the searches were done. We were settled. Until Kevin Pond comes by and tells me that he is leaving to go to West Texas A&M as the Dean of the College of Agricultural Sciences there. So January 1, he will assume that role. And so we are back again searching. Okay? So once that's done, you'll see that all of our departments have new heads. Okay? We have a new structure also within academic programs, and we have new faces driving some key initiatives for the college. I am particularly thrilled that when you have 62% or 65% of our student body as women, 62% of the leadership team of the college are women as well. I promise you that is not what we were targeting towards a number, but when you find excellent people and you hire them and bring them on board, it reflects. I'm very delighted that we were able to do that. We owe it to the students. We spent about 2 years working on a strategic plan at the college level. We had multiple retreats with the leadership team. We sent you a copy of what we thought was a good enough strategic plan for your feedback around April. You all sent us feedback around late May. And then in June, we sent you another copy back. And around August, we got feedback. And that's the copy of the college's strategic plan that's up on the website. I know that each of the department heads are working with you all to create the departmental plan that align with this. It doesn't mean that every single thing that's in the strategic plan, every department, every program does. It doesn't mean there aren't things that you would like to do that we'll say, oh, don't do it. We're just saying this is a roadmap for the college. Okay? And that's important, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Because oftentimes when colleges prepare a strategic plan, the first question that comes, and should come, how are we going to resource it? How are you going to fund it? Right? And I want to talk to you a bit about how this college has a unique opportunity to have this funded in a substantial way for a long time. That's why you should wait and not leave yet. In terms of the excitement that's there within the 5 departments, you'll see that currently within the 5 departments we have 120 tenure or tenure track faculty. Almost a third of our faculty joined us since 2015. And in addition to that, we were able to add 14 net new faculty lines. That means not replacement. And the reason we were able to do that comes from the cluster hire. We were able to take savings from salaries from retirement, and part of some of our retention, when I chose to stay on for another 2 years, we got some additional faculty line, which is what we negotiated. Okay. We got that, and we assigned that. This is exciting for most everybody except Jesse Fuentes. And the reason is we have hired phenomenal colleagues to join us. These are great scientists, and great scientists require great research startup packages. Right? And great research startup packages these days, on average, it's about $450,000. That's a lot of money in the existing budget. Right? But Jessie and her team, the ABC team, have basically figured out alongside the department heads to find a way to piece it together. This, in my opinion, is a short-term stress. And you'll hear from James when he talks about how one particular group that we have invested in has basically started bringing in grant money to basically pay for through indirect costs. Yes, it's stressful for the short term. Let's keep an eye on the long term. Okay? I'm very satisfied with the stress level that we are in. We can handle it. But this is phenomenal. A third of our faculty joined us since 2015. And what I love about these faculty, many of whom I have met, they bring with them the same level of commitment to our students that the folks that they replace with. High level of commitment. And we should never forget that. So what's our budget? Why is the stress level the way it is? What we have is about $11.3 million from our education and general fund, which is the fund we get from the state. and tuition that gets sent back to the college. Then we get about $31.4 million through the AES contribution and the research expenditures that you all bring. We've had a phenomenal year in research. Some $20 million in research expenditures. It's paying off. It's happening. And I am sorry that our development team is not here today, but I did want us, and maybe you all will do individually, recognize them for outstanding work they have done in the capital campaign. We had about an $80 million target. This last week they crossed $100 million. When you do see Nick and Keely and Chris, please tell them congratulations, job well done. Okay. And of course they won't hear that from me because I keep saying, okay, now where's the next 100 coming from? Because for all of you who are here, they don't give money to a dean, trust me. They don't give money because this is Colorado State University. They give money because of the programs and the research that comes out of you. The donors. So it's you and your work that allows us to go do that. Okay. So let's take a bit to talk about the development. I said it's about $100 million. This slide, the accurate number on the books today right now is 99 million, but I'll talk to you a bit about something else that's coming together this week. One of the initiatives we have had are the external relationships I talked about. Okay. We established the Office of Strategic Partnerships, and we have built strategic partnerships with several companies that I'd like to talk a bit about. These are companies, ag companies, non-ag companies, Google being one, Amazon being another that Steve Newman has been instrumental in helping us. I saw Steve earlier in driving that. Okay. ADM is another one. So Jillian has been driving a big chunk of this group. And one company, I'm not able to reveal them just yet, but we will here pretty shortly. We've been working, Jillian and Nick Lebechko has been working with them quite a bit. And I think in the next 6 weeks to 8 weeks, we'll announce an 8-figure gift that they will be making to the College of Ag Sciences. It's about a $10 million gift. Now this is an interesting thing. They're going to give us this gift as a naming of the new Shepherdson building. And not the college. The price to name the college is $40 million. We have chosen to name just the building. Okay? Now the beauty of that is the following. The building is paid for by the state of Colorado. So we don't need money for the construction. So what I'm telling, and I'm working with our development team, is the following. I'm asking them, go name all the spaces for a fee, which we do. Conference rooms, classrooms, the cafe, and others. And we'll put that money into a quasi-endowment available to the college to drive the strategic plan. Recall I just talked to you about how do you fund the strategic plan. If this $10 million, we don't need any part of that for the building, which I hope we don't, and we name every single space in that building, you're looking at something like $10 to $20 million in a quasi-endowment at 4.5%. You're getting close to $1 million every year available to the dean, the next dean, to drive strategic priorities for the college. I don't think this college, or any college, has that luxury. The stars just aligned and things are coming together. So read that strategic plan a little more carefully now. Right? There are some great initiatives, and James will walk you through some of that. I'm really excited for what's going to happen for this college. I really am. Okay. I won't be around for that, but I will watch from afar. Okay. So these strategic partnerships that we just put out, these companies, those partnerships are the ones that's helping us with the JBS Global Food Innovation Center that opens next month. If you haven't had a chance, you should go take a walk. It's absolutely magnificent spot. Okay? And the fall of 2021, many of you will have a new place to go. Everybody should be impacted by this because we have teaching classrooms there, we have places to meet, large video conferencing rooms, office spaces, and a maker space, place where collaborative experiential learning can take place. We had about, how many, 11?
And then we went to 7.
From 11 to 7 proposals for the design and build. A group of review committee brought that number down to 3, and I believe we'll make that announcement tomorrow or so who the last 3 are. So we'll have 3 finalists, if you would, for the construction company and the design phase, and I would urge all of you to be engaged in that, because do not look at this as, well, that's Shepherdson, not my building. It is our building, because you will all find yourself there. So please, get engaged in the process. And this is just a rendering, but I love the fact that there is that A and 1870, and let us own the A. I've always said, we own that A, okay? We must. And so, if nothing else, in that design, let's keep that. Finally, on the research stations, many of you know about this. I've written to you all the last, since about August, about the different things that we've been working on. I'm excited as to what's happening at Rogers Mesa. We reopened Rogers Mesa. We have some more investments to make, right? This is funded by the state, so we get funds from the state to do this, okay? The construction for Orchard Mesa and the 2 buildings that we're building up there, and in the San Luis Valley Research Center are underway right now. So again, this is where Extension, Forest Service, ag experiment stations all come together, cohabitate, and so therefore there's more alignment that takes place there. Okay. And there is a proposed, the new National Western Center and Urban Ag Experiment Station that we could be looking at too. Okay. I talked about the strategic plan, and you all know the way we organize ourselves in the college and the leadership structure. I tend to look outward. My job is to look at these relationships, to work with the legislature, and the $43 million that came through from the legislature. It takes a lot of time, and you're never around in the building if you have to focus externally. And if you're not here, all of you will feel neglected. And that's the reason why we had an executive associate dean who does all of the internal work. And so I don't take credit for anything that's happened inside. It's all what James and his team did. So.
Hey, thanks, Ajay. Would you join me in thanking Ajay? He'll be back up for some questions and answers in just a moment. Let me just do a couple things. One is let me say thank you. Thank you for all that you do, because you work really, really hard. The evidence of what we're gonna see in that space, we're gonna see some of that today. But that hard work, that inspiration, that creativity is fantastic. And it's great to be able to walk around campus and talk proudly about the College of Agricultural Sciences and folks that work there. And step outside and talk to external constituents like we did yesterday with the commodity groups, and talk about how proud we are of this group, and aspirationally, where we're gonna go. So that's part of what the strategic plan does, is help to plot some places that we'd like to make improvements, where we'd like to invest, and then work with you about how you fit into those steps and stages. So we'll talk some about what that is. I just want to add a little bit about Shepherdson while I have the chance. So Ajay mentioned we have 3 finalists that are design build teams that are talking about what their credentials are and what their potential ideas are for the Shepherdson building. But the design phase itself will be all next year. So there'll be lots of opportunities for input from you about what do we need in that building? How can we have the facilities and the infrastructure to reach aspirationally for those goals we've laid out on the strategy side. So look forward to working with that. So in the strategic plan, there's really just two big objectives in that voluminous document that you have. There's an objective that happens to be around student success, and there's an objective around research and engagement excellence. And within that, we know that financially we have to be able to have the resources to be able to support that, and the financial realities that exist for us as we work within a university structure. And what's paramount to us is a culture of inclusiveness. Everybody has to be on board. All of our creativity, our innovation, and our ideas have to be treated according to those principles of community. And so building that culture of inclusiveness is one of the high priorities that we have for this year. And I'll have a chance to be able to have the leaders in those areas talk to you about the things that they're doing. So let me talk about one of the leaders that we joke a little bit about, but works hard in this area to make sure we have those financial resources to talk to you a little bit about the financial assumptions we're working under as we do the strategic plan, and where our resources come from, and the parts where we might be able to grow so we can reach toward those goals. Jesse Fuentes, our CFO, would you please join us and talk a little bit about that? We did have our fan club sitting in front, right?
Yeah, thanks, James. So I want to point out up front here, there is a handout, because I am not going to come up here and essentially go through the nitty-gritty of all the budget stuff. But it's here. It's open. You guys can come find it. And if you have any questions, my door is always open, and the rest of my staff will talk you through whatever you want to learn. The budget sources is where I'm going to kind of go. I think that Dean Menon, talked about how maybe I don't sleep much, and kind of pull him back in a little bit, and how are you planning to do what you're trying to do? And I think he learned really quickly that gifts could be a really great way to do stuff in this college. Because first of all, we have a lot of restricted funds. We have a lot of things that the dean can't come in and go, well, I want to reallocate this here, I want to reallocate it there. And I'm like, no, hold on. We work in research. These are tied to certain things. We can't just move these around. Here's where these are going. So, Dean Menon and I got to talk quite a bit, and, again, more every time we chat, and try to find the different buckets of money and the different sources of funds. And we start kind of going through some things. So I thought today would be a good day to bring you guys all and remind you guys of some of that conversation. Base funding. What I thought was really interesting with our college, and I think this is probably in a lot of other colleges too, is the base funding is 40% of our total budget. And so the base funding, for the most part, base funding in one time. That's basically just salaries. For the most part, that's the easiest way to think about it. It's just people's salaries. That's what keeps us operating. The one-time funds come in a lot of different pots, and this aligns with strategy and strategic investments, and these are usually coming outside, in areas like the BPR, from the provost, in different initiatives that they're trying to energize and throw some leveraging tools at. And so when you look at the budgeting sheet, there's kind of like base funding, and then there's a one-time column. All those things like carry forward or into money, those are kind of in that dumped in one-time bucket, which means we have to spend that year on those things that align with those strategic investments. And so that's where kind of that one-time budget is. Our base funds, as Jay pointed out, are in 3 different categories. We have E&G, education in general. We have our AES, which is a state and federal portion, and we have extension. And so, when he got charged to come and kind of realign this, it's because we have to align it, because that's where our base funding comes from. We have to be on the same page, we have to be talking the same direction. And then the one-time and base, that little square that's there. So I think, Dean Menon comes from the College of Business, and I think they learned about 236, and they knew what that was, and they were really driving that. And he's like, hey, what's our 236 here? And I go, I don't even know what you're talking about. We haven't got any money in 236. And what's hard is the 236 concept came at a time where we'd been really dealing with, the budget rescissions and stuff. And this was the provost's way to start giving money back to colleges, but it has to do with student growth. And when we go back and kind of look at the history of it, we're like, oh dang, we weren't growing as a college. We had departments growing like individually, but a department might grow and a department might not grow and actually lose people. And so we were not seeing anything in the 236 world. Part of it, I've kind of gone back and looked through, and we kind of grew at the wrong time. I mean, it was just unfortunate. That's just the way it goes. But we need, you know, as we start talking, we really do need to look at growing those student numbers. That's how the provost was giving money. And that would come in kind of one time and base. What they do is they give you some influx of money as one time, and then they let it true up and they see how your numbers are going. And then in theory, you end up getting that converted to base. So then, you know, if you had to hire people or whatever you had to do to handle those courses, you would then have the base funds to move forward with that. I just don't have a lot of practical examples in this college of it. And so we want to highlight that. That is an area that we can grow. And then any other kind of one-time base mixes tend to come because of faculty lines. That's what gets supported. So our big buckets though, so that's 40%. That means 60% of what we do in this college is in kind of this kind of volatile funding source, right? It's this areas that we're not exactly sure, we can't project on, we don't know what's going on with it. But it's really exciting because there's a lot we can do with it and you can grow it. And that's where those gift funds come in. This entrepreneurial funds make up 28% of our budget, and that's going to go up. I mean, with everything going on and with what our development team is doing, those just keep going up. Not to mention online teaching. I mean, a lot of our departments, the online teaching is really what's saving them. That's an area that they've put some investment and they can grow in that space a little bit. I threw in the farm and research sales and service because really that's how our experiment station is run. That's how our research centers, that's how they're even able to operate. They don't get base funding for anything like that. They only get base funding for salaries. And then recharge operations and course fees so the recharge operations are basically like internal where you need to bill out. And you can kind of provide services across the board. This is an area that I think that certain expertise could do really, really well in, but it's also an area on campus that's changing a little bit. And so we want to really be on top of that. We really want to align a business plan. In fact, they're going to make us do a business plan. And so having a business plan to it and some strategy behind it is where we can kind of grow that entrepreneurial side of recharge operations. And then research funding, that I'm saving for the end because it's a highlight. It's what saves me when I kind of look at our cash flow and go, oh my goodness, how are we going to make this work? And like Dean Menon said, just in this last year, we surpassed 20 million in research expenditures. It had been 15 million for the previous 5 years, basically. And so that was a big uptick. And I think that's something we have to celebrate. And it's stuff that I look out and see what our new faculty are doing, and I get really excited about. And I'm like, okay, maybe we can sleep. Let's see what's going on. And so I want to celebrate you guys in that space and what you guys are doing because I know my staff feels it. They all know that you guys are doing well in the research, and I mean I think we're doing well in a lot of places, right? But we see that impact fast, and we see where that happens. So that's kind of the budget, and those are the different sources. But you know, it's the different colors of money. It's working in a university. It's not, not as easy as some people imagine. And so I think that's good for everyone to know and know that we're here to support you guys. Thanks.
Jesse, thank you. I'm really struck by the fact that 60% of our budget are things that are within our control, but also highly variable. So it takes intentional planning around what we want to do. That piece around students too is that there's an imperative for us to be able to be politically viable within a university environment too, because we have a sufficient number of students to command resources. And so growing students not only provides us with some funds that we can offset expenses we're pulling from other areas, but also allows us to have a bigger voice when we start to talk about base budget allocation from the university. So That's one of the things we think about when we think about aspirationally, where do we want to go? What are the important things we have? We'd make a mistake. We'd make a significant mistake if we thought just adding students was what our mission was. Because it's really about the success of students and being able to fulfill the land-grant mission in terms of training global thinkers, people that can do critical analysis, that have the experiences and the skill sets that will serve them throughout their lifetime, and also be able to solve some of the pertinent problems that we have. So we've got a great team of folks that work in that area. That's that student success team. So could I please have the student success folks join me up front right now? Some folks, you know, they give and give and give, and they work really hard. These are folks that you see their mornings and their nights. They're late at night burning the midnight oil. They're sending me emails at all different kinds of hours. Some of them work so hard that they lose their voices. And that's what happened to Becca Crockett. So she's going to pantomime her talk today for us as they go. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the student success team. I'm going to take Becca's part. We had a chance to chat a little bit. Well, she whispered and I chatted a little bit about it. And we'll talk a little bit about the student success objectives and what the frame is for this brand new team that just started this last year. So a few things you need to know about students at CSU. Total numbers of students, we're getting close to about 2,000 students right now. That includes our grad students and our online students. We've increased about 6-7%. We have not done that because we've recruited more students. It's because we're retaining more students. That's why those numbers are going up. Our actual recruiting is going down in some sense for what we have. Some great different demographics going on with our students. We're a female majority college. We're a majority Colorado resident college. And we're starting to see our retention numbers. Well, I'll let you guys talk about some numbers later, in particular with some folks to talk about what's going on with them. So the thing that we want to do, though, is make sure that we attack this with a framework that makes sure we retain those students and that we successfully place them where they'd like to be. So it was this team of leaders, whether that be Addie or Matt or Becca joining me, that talked a lot about the student experience and how we need to link each of the different phases of the student experience. Whether that be our initial contacts, and Becca's doing a lot of that on the recruiting side, but also thinking about just our first touch points at state fairs and when we host folks on campus, and Ag Adventure that Marshall Frazier coordinates so well for us on behalf of the college. Those first touch points, let's make sure that those are tied to building community as we do over time. One of the innovations that Becca's brought to us, just in the short time that she's been working here, less than 6 months really working in this space, is to make sure that we coordinate ourselves among the different departments and the college entities that are recruiting. So previously we did a great job of retail experience. If a student came to the campus, we did a great job of showing them what we did and helping them to understand the benefits of coming to Colorado State University. But what we hadn't done was coordinate an effort that reached out to students and think about a consistent narrative and a consistent message that we look forward about the great things that you can come when you come to a state university. So Becca's beginning to coordinate that among our folks, so they're developing that common narrative, training each other, and now taking advantage of resources that are available to us at the university level. She told me something interesting the other day too, that if a student decides to come to CSU and they apply by December 1st, we get about 64% of the students that we get come from that. And with a conversion rate of students, so once they make an application, about 28% or so of our students actually come to campus. If we get as many students to think about and applied students by then we increase those numbers of students that'll come back in because we can tell our story. By the way, if they make it to the CSU campus, more than 80% make it here. So building that first part, that recruiting and those touch points, those initial connections is so important. Why don't we talk a little bit about community, Abby? And would you take that for us?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So in my role, I have been trying to increase communication among the departments and across campus and start to reach out to partners on campus who are creating strategic efforts in student success. And we have been leveraging the resources that they have and trying to implement the programs in our college. For example, many of you maybe have seen the First 4 Weeks initiative that came out of the Vice President's Office for Student Affairs. And amongst this whole team, we've tried to engage with teachers and staff and faculty and all of us to have those initiatives play out in the first 4 weeks of a student's experience. That's academically and socially, to give them a place on campus and a support system, and you'll see more of those initiatives in the future semesters. I've also been working with the advising team here in the College of Ag to just create more intentional conversations around what do you do well and where do you need support. We have a collective of students, but we have very different experiences that happen in our office every day. And so we can learn from each other if we sit down and we talk about case studies, and this student had this experience, how did you handle it, what resources do you know that are on campus, and what worked. So we're having a lot of those conversations as a team to see where we need to learn together and where we can grow together. Our whole goal is to support every student that walks in, and know if I don't know the answer, I know somebody who does. We are also excited that in the fall of 19, we'll start our first College of Ag Key academic community. So that means that a 30 new student cohort will arrive on campus, and they will live together in one of the residence halls. That's all coordinated by a university office. And those students will act as a cohort and move through their college experience beginning together. And there's a lot of support at the university level, one of which is the recruiting happens at the university level. And there are some peer mentors that are hired and trained at the university level. So it just brings some new perspective into some of our already trained leaders. And then the university coordinates the housing for these students. We are tasked with developing the cohort curriculum. So we're able to choose 1 to 3 courses where all of the students will be enrolled together so they can build community and academic success together. And one of those courses you've already heard about that's led by Nathan Clark and Marshall Frazier, and we'll have one section of that course where the key community will learn and coexist. And so that's really exciting. And I hope to reach out to all of you to participate with that course, because we'd like that to be a showcase of the diversity of agriculture, from personalities to techniques and technologies, and it would be fun to have a lot of engagement. The last thing is, in the spring semester that's right around the corner, I'd like to relaunch the Student Affairs Committee. And this committee's taken about a year hiatus, I think, maybe a little longer. And I really hope that it will have cross-college participation from the different departments, where we come together and create priorities for how we can collectively support our College of Ag students through initiatives. And I really hope this is an action-based team where we can sit down and say, these are the 4 things that we think are really important. For example, Matt and I have been talking about how great it would be to have a graduate student association, so they can work and learn together across our disciplines. So we could collectively as a committee come up with these priorities and then work as action item leaders in our own departments to adjust them to the different environments of our departments. So I hope that you all might find interest in participating in that. And after this meeting, I'm going to stand over here for those of you who can't wait to tell me you're interested in learning more. So I'll pass this talking stick off to Matt. Thank you.
Awesome. How's everybody doing? Everybody all right? All right, good. So if those of you who don't know, my name is Matt Camper, and I'm working with a hat on as an assistant dean in the area of teaching practice and also in academic programs. And so that sort of spans a lot of areas that I'm really excited about, and I've been able to talk with a lot of you all about along the way, but I've been asked to pare it down so that y'all can get out of here at a decent time. So I want to just give 2 quick updates. One of those is around the area of non-tenure track faculty, which is an area that I'm extremely passionate about. And these folks are really good at going noteless, and I need to pare myself down, so I'm going to keep my notes handy here, just so you know. So there's been a lot of changes recently to the faculty handbook around the non-tenure track faculty, including a vote that just happens, as you all might have known, around a 4-tier promotional pathway to help support non-tenure track faculty around the university. And I'd like to say right up front that the student success team and the rest of the college leadership, and hopefully the rest of the college as a whole, really support these changes, and we really support, maybe because I selfishly am one, our non-tenure track faculty. All right. So to help navigate these changes that are coming, we needed to create a college-level NTTF committee, and so that has recently launched, and Sue Ellen Meltzer has agreed to chair that committee and has been doing so wonderfully for the last group of months. And so I wanted just to let you all know that that was out there, and sort of just to talk about how the committee's working really closely with the Faculty Council's Committee on Non-Tenure Track Faculty, and also with the HR at both the university and the college level, and with the departments, and with other oh my goodness, too many T's, NTTF college level committees to sort of talk about how code changes are going to come about, and to sort of talk to the departments about what the changes will look like. And what I wanted to sort of get to you all is this is a really well-informed committee. So not only is it chaired by Sue Ellen, and Ruth Huffbauer is our tenure track faculty that is also sitting on the committee. Joanna Holliday is sitting on the committee, and we have representatives from every department. So should you individually or as groups have questions, I really hope that you will go and you'll take a little time and you'll talk with Sue Ellen or you'll talk with your department reps about what these changes are and anything that's coming down. Someone, did I hit that pretty well? I'm calling her out. She's like, leave me alone. All right, the other thing that I wanted to sort of just highlight for you was some areas around teaching effectiveness and also a curriculum mapping that some of you may have heard is moving forward at the college level here. So one thing that I know is that there's a lot of amazing teaching, there's a lot of amazing courses and curriculum already in place. But one thing that I also know is that in our practice of teaching, so that growth mindset, there's always room for improvement. Whether you are one of those brand new faculty lines or whether you have been here for 30 plus years, there's new pedagogy, there's a different generation of students and different ways they are learning and different supports that they need in place. So sort of toward that goal early in the semester, and some of you are probably rolling your eyes and some of you might say thank you, I don't know where you're at on that, I sent a few documents out that talked about how we might be able to improve the messaging just on the syllabi for our college courses, which would bring us into some alignment with the First 4 Weeks initiative and SSI 2. So that is a good idea for a lot of reasons. On just a base level, right, it will allow our students to know what tools they're going to be putting in their toolbox by the time they finish those courses, right? And at another level, those learning objectives, as they were put onto those fall syllabi were then sort of brought together digitally, and they're informing the beginning parts of this curriculum mapping process that's going on in the departments for this next academic year. The major goal is to map the courses to the programs, make sure that those alignments are intentional, make sure that those alignments are up to date, so what we're seeing in the course catalog, what the students are seeing in the course catalog, is actually what they're seeing in their courses and also within their programs. And then map those up to the department strategic plans, and then ultimately map those up to the college strategic plan too. But my hope, right, my hope is that it's going to go beyond that, right? I hope that we can sort of come together to create a common narrative. So you've heard a lot that the student success teams about communications. Communication on recruiting, communication on community, also communication on teaching. And I want to see some collaborations going on between the departments, right? So we can have connecting points between the departments, and we can have a really cool space for innovative collaborations, right? So what is going on good in one department? How can we utilize that? How can we bring together courses across departments and maybe end redundancies that may be there in that way? And so to showcase this work, I'm really excited about this. Others may not be as excited as they have to begin to put it together. We're going to open up a set of forums just before spring break in 2019, where each of the departments are going to have a chance to report out about their majors, about their programs, about their mapping process as it's come to a head, to really highlight the teaching and the teaching effectiveness that's going on within their departments and units. So I look forward to that coming forward. So all of that said, what I want to just sort of bring back to y'all is that the Student Success Team and the College of Ag Sciences is committed to continue on this path of teaching effectiveness and also evaluation. The departments are working hard on what that might look like. And to that end, we're working with the College Master Teacher Initiative Coordinator, which is Dr. Andrew Norton, I lost him. There he is, back in that corner over there. And we're also working with the Diversity Catalyst team and others in our departments and units to plan and deliver applicable trainings for our undergraduates, for our graduate TAs, and for our faculty and staff. But that is my call to action to you, because this is communication, right? You all know what you need, sometimes better than we do, and so that's where I'm going to make my ask right now. And I will be standing right next to Addie over there so that we can hear all of your best ideas. So if you have ideas on impactful speakers, we want to hear from you, right? If you have ideas on training opportunities that you've heard about or been part of and you think that they would be really great, we want to hear about those. If you have tools that you need put in your toolbox or you need put in your TA's toolboxes, we need to hear about those too, all right? So that we can really move forward as your student success team and bring those pieces that you need to bring all of these pieces into alignment for the strategic initiative. So I'm going to get out of the way, but I get the really distinct pleasure to introduce you to another person. So I want to introduce right now Rachel Cohn. She's a double major in equine sciences and ag business, and she and several of her colleagues recently participated in an Agricultural Future of America, so the AFA Leadership Institute, which was sponsored by the college, and she's going to take some time to tell us a little bit more about it. So, Rachel?
Hi, yeah, like Matt said, I'm Rachel. I'm a senior here, and I've been here all 4 years. Really love it here, and I was really fortunate to get to go to Kansas City a couple weeks ago with 11 other students from CSU. All of us are ag students, have an interest in ag, but on all different aspects of it. This conference was about leadership, so it was really neat to go and be around other leaders from all around the country who are students in ag. You had big ag schools there, like Purdue, North Dakota State, all like that, and then you had smaller ones like University of Maryland, all that kind of stuff. And the conference was on a little bit of a different caliber. I've been fortunate enough to go to a couple different student conferences throughout my time at CSU, and this one, because everybody there was already a leader, it sort of brought things up to another level. So that was really interesting, and they brought in a lot of different kinds of speakers. Some of them had to do with ag, some of them didn't, so it got us a little bit outside that comfort zone, and their whole theme for the conference was change. So how us as leaders will change the industry, how the industry will change over time, and how we'll change with it, and sort of how to embrace that and do the best with it. So I asked some of the people that went with me to give me a quote to tell you all, so you're just hearing from me, but I'll shorten them up a little. But Allie Powell, she said that her experience was one full of growth, opportunity, and learning, and she left the conference feeling confident in her ability to lead through change and move towards the future. Kelly Colleran said that AFA was a wonderful experience because not only was I able to learn more about the ag world, but I was able to grow professionally and interact with so many like-minded peers that I never would have had the opportunity to any other time. She made great connections with students both her age and outside of her age, as well as industry professionals. Just sort of a plug in there. Most of us got paired with different industry professionals. I personally was paired with Elanco Animal Health, so you just get to learn about like what this animal health company did. The next is Gus Gill. He was paired with the FFA, so he really loved it. He made a connection with a girl from Ireland who was studying here in the States, and she ended up sitting down at one of our tables that a lot of the CSU students were at. And so it's interesting to learn about the ag industry, not only here in the U.S. and how it differentiates from the East Coast to the Midwest to the West Coast, but also over in Ireland. And he was a past FFA state officer, so he was able to reconnect with a lot of FFA post-FFA state officers throughout the years. And there was a lot of networking. We had a lot of opportunity to speak with these industry professionals, not only the ones you were paired with, and just learn about all the opportunity. There was a lot of really big names there, and not as big names too, some newer companies that were in the ag industry, and it was really wonderful to go. I came back so motivated to get to graduation in May and find a job that I can be successful and continue doing leadership roles for the ag industry beyond just at CSU. And on behalf of all of us that went, we really thank the college and especially Becca for helping us get there, and it was a really wonderful experience, so thank you.
Rachel, thank you. Hey, great experiences are all part of that student success and that portfolio we build for folks so they can be successful in the future. So would you join me in thanking Student Success for doing the hard work that they do? Even when they can't talk. And you guys are going to be in this corner is where you said you would be so that so we can learn more. Thank you very much for doing that. Another point of emphasis is really building on with that growth mindset. How can we be more inclusive within the college? What are some ways that we can tap into our common creativity by affirming all the differences that are there? There's a great group on our campus, the Diversity Catalyst team, within our college that's leading us down this pathway. And Dr. Ruth Huffpower is serving as that leader in that space.
Hi everyone, it's great to be here. Let's see. So I am the chair of the Diversity Catalyst team, which is this really fabulous group of people currently. And we will soon have representation from the Ag Experiment Station as well. So we have pretty much every unit covered, plus ex officio folks to help us keep a good eye on the big picture of what our goals are. So for the big picture, we're really focused on these aspects of the strategic plan: student success, research and engagement. And then, as you probably know, we also have in the college a diversity strategic plan, which is called the Diversity Blueprint. So there, we're focused as a college on, let's see, no pointer. Oh, that is not a pointer. Ha, magic. Okay, so we're really focused on retention of students from historically underrepresented groups, and then recruitment and retention and promotion and support of faculty and staff from those groups. So this is college-wide, and this is what the Diversity Catalyst team is working towards. So I'm going to show you some data. A little bit of it looks negative, and I show this to you not to be negative about it, but with these data we can look at what our areas are that are important for us to target for improvement and for growth. So looking at 6-year graduation rates at CSU in general, we're doing better 2012 versus 2007. And the College of Ag can be proud because our increase is even higher. We're really improving 6-year graduation rates. But unfortunately, those improvements aren't holding across all groups. And so there's this gap that the student success team has been going around different departments and telling people about and working on very directly that we need to be thinking about to how to help students from minorities, Pell Grant awardees, and first-gen students really succeed. So I also have some data on faculty and on graduate students. I haven't put together the data on staff yet, so I apologize for that. Oops, so sorry. Before I get to the faculty, I wanted to say that it is super crucial that we make these changes, that we make changes for those students to help them succeed, because this is where the state of Colorado is going. So just picking a single group, picking Hispanic, so people who identify as Latino, Latina, that population is growing really rapidly. These are data from a couple decades ago, and it shows the growth in Colorado as a whole and also the growth in our CAS students. So we're having growth in this particular population in the College of Ag, but not as quickly as that population is growing in the state of Colorado. And as you've seen, we're talking not just about student success, but also about some of the fundamentals of our place in the university, having large and growing majors and the funding that comes from students. So we really want people to succeed, and we really want to look into the future. So this is the state of Colorado as a whole, but if you focus in on the folks who are going to be who are under 18, who identify as Latino or Latina, in 2060, that's projected to be 64% of this population of under 18 folks in Colorado. So it's a huge population, and we really want to be serving them well. Okay, so now on to some of the data for faculty. So this is, as the Diversity Catalyst team, we're working with the student success team on some issues that influence students, but we're also thinking about faculty and staffing graduate students. So this is one bit of data that shows that at CSU, women faculty on the faculty take a little longer to get promoted than men do, and that gap is a bit larger in the College of Ag than it is elsewhere on the university campus. So that's another place that we can think about. You know, what is it about our current culture that makes it a little harder for women to be up for promotion as early as the men? And then here's some data from the Graduate Student Climate Survey from 2 years ago, showing how students respond when asked Did they find that faculty were generally supportive of people with diverse backgrounds? Did the students feel like they were treated fairly regardless of their status, gender, political ideology, sexual orientation, and veteran status? And there we're lagging a bit behind some of the rest of the university with these things. We want our graduate students to feel at home here and to be able to do their best work. So, who are you gonna call? Yeah, we're calling the Ghostbusters if it's a ghost. But if it's an issue with thinking about student gaps and climate in general, our Ghostbusters are social scientists. These are people who study how organizations change and the best way to move forward in the directions we want to go. And the number one thing that they say in almost all of the studies is, because our leadership team has some insight and reads the literature, is creating this culture of inclusiveness. So you've heard a little bit about that already, but what does that really mean to have an inclusive culture? So I just want to point out that culture is not neutral. Like I might think, well, I don't have an accent, but to lots of other speakers around the world, I do have an accent. You might go to a friend's house or an in-laws and things are done a little differently there at their house than at your house. So there are superficial parts of culture and very deep parts of culture that influence how we move through the world. And when the research also shows that when those aspects of our deep culture are threatened, it goes straight to our brain. So this is another part where social scientists working together with neurobiologists have found that when our deep culture is threatened, we go into this kind of fight or flight response. And then for the next 2 to 4 hours, we can't, if we're a student, really study for a test or take in what's going on in a lecture. We can't, as a graduate student or faculty person, write that excellent publication that we want to write or that grant proposal. We can't, as staff, do our very best work making this whole complex organization run smoothly. So that neurobiology really, culture matters and neurobiology really matters. And so what do you do about these things? Well, again, the social scientists would say the first step is simply to educate ourselves. Because it's very hard to be aware of our own culture because we're so steeped in it. And so we have a whole slew of opportunities around the university. There have been multiple offered within the college as well, and there's the foundational training classes. So there's all sorts of things. I have many, many readings. We're not social scientists or neurobiologists, but there's all sorts of fascinating books and primary literature that we can read. Anybody who wants to have some of those, I have a slew of them. And so that's what we're here to do. Our role is to kind of catalyze positive change wherever we can, support folks in finding the educational opportunities that they would like and finding those nominating people for different opportunities, being a resource when departments are changing their code. If you want somebody on the team to look at it with an eye to diversity and inclusion, we're here just to help out wherever and whoever we can help out. And with that, thank you so much.
Ruth, thank you for your service, and thanks to the Diversity Catalyst team for being a resource for us and helping us build that culture that we want to have. Hey, you know what I think I want to do is I want to hear from some departments. So I'm going to ask Amy Charkowski to come up for just a minute. Our department head from Bioag Sciences and Pest Management. She's going to tell us a little bit about the cool things going on in maybe the department. Well, yeah, we don't know for sure what the name will be, but in BSPM for now.
Yeah, I can see a bunch of presenters are not going to have voice.
I caught quite a cold about a week ago, so hopefully we can get through this. So James asked us for 7 minutes and 3 slides, and I was really struggling trying to figure out what to put on. Just 3 slides to talk about what's new in our department in just 7 minutes. So I'm going to do my best. I fell back on the standard land grant mission of research, teaching, and extension engagement. to use as a theme for this, since it was really hard. So with research, I would actually be very happy standing up here telling you about all the amazing things I've been learning since I've been here from my colleagues, everything from insect evolution to molecular weed science and herbicide resistance. That's what I'm most comfortable talking about and really enjoy. But there's so much, it's hard to even cover. And it really isn't possible unless you bring in really amazing students and have great faculty. And so I wanted to talk about who's new in this. And so we have 11 new graduate students, and you can see their pictures here, who joined us in the last year. And we have a 12th who's just joining us, I think, this month. And then we have 2 new faculty, Punya Nachapa and Vamsi Nalam, who also joined us in this past year. They came here from Purdue. And in West Lafayette, or no, I just get that wrong. Anyway. So one thing I did want to talk about with the research is that it's so good it's being recognized many times in many places. So, for example, our students have received many awards from donors to our department. This is Ms. Betty Brown and all of our Brown Award winners from this past year. And it's hard to keep up, so I just want to tell you about what's happened in the last week. So we had 2 graduate students that won awards, the graduate student presentations yesterday. We have CSU's first Entomology Society of America Fellow, Paul Oppler, and that was just this week. We also had Rachel Sitz as the first, I believe, graduate student award from the Entomology Society. That happened this week. Jan Leach has been out at Cornell giving the Wetzel Westcott lecture this week. And that's an endowed lecture, kind of like our Thornton Massa. It's one of my favorite ones, actually, that I know about. Wetzel, the person who was named after, he had a kid just show up on his doorstep who had read an article that Wetzel had written about going to college. He showed up on his doorstep with $11 in his pocket and nowhere to live and said, "I read your article. I think college is for me." And so Wetzel had him work in plant pathology, which is my discipline, and helped fund him through college. And sadly, this person didn't go into plant pathology. It was unfortunate. He instead went and founded Burger King. His name is James McLemore, so he funded the lecture series. You never know, right, where your students are going to end up. Okay, so in addition to research, our great students and our new faculty have opened up a lot of opportunities in other areas. So the next part is teaching, and we've been working on developing an undergrad major. This is being led by Cindy Brown and Vamsi, with a lot of help from Vamsi Nalam and a lot of the other people in our department. It's been a very active committee, almost an exhausting committee, but they're making incredible progress. So this is something very new for our department. We heard about 236 funding and we thought, oh, we should do that. And so we've got, I think, they have developed a really good curriculum. They've got great learning objectives. And we're working now on the marketing, and fortunately, James has found us some help there because we were kind of at a loss how to do that part. If all goes well, we'll be launching that in 2020, which will be the 150th anniversary of the university, so I'm excited about that. We have a 4+1 program in our department. Our first student, Rachel Stout, will be graduating this December from that program, so we're also really excited about that. The program is still growing, we hope. I think we have 6 students now, maybe 10 in a few weeks, so we're getting there. And we're also revising some aspects of our minors to try to get more students into that. And in addition, Chris Argueso has been raising money and launched a research fellowship program for our undergrads. So I'm hoping that this will continue to grow and be built into our major. This is a very happy student here, and the reason she's so happy is because of what Whitney's holding here. Does anybody know what that is? Yeah.
Cat-faced spider.
That's a cat-faced spider. That's the second largest one Whitney's ever seen. It was so big it couldn't walk. It was We have way too many spiders in our office. So, okay. The last thing I wanted to talk about quickly was extension and engagement. The department's been really active here too. It's more growth of things that we're doing, I think, than new things, but there's one new thing that I expect to grow really fast. So for example, I guess a couple new things. So we have a bug zoo that does a lot of outreach to K through 12, and the last I heard, I think they're up to 17,000 students. Is it more now?
Yeah,
Where we at?
we did a new tally, and we just topped over 40,000
Are you
individuals
serious?
that we met in the last year.
Okay, 40,000 K through 12 students in the last year. Yeah, wow. Okay, so those are really busy bugs in the zoo. And then something happened this year that I really didn't think would ever happen. When I got here and interviewed, I was toured through the insect museum. It was smashed into a very small space. And I was told that one of the departmental priorities was finding new space. And I thought, great, this will be something I get to disappoint them in every single year that I'm here. But we found space, right? And so they're now in Hartshorn. We had a grand opening this year, and that's the Entomology Club, which also has space now in Hartshorn, in part of the new insect museum. If you haven't been to the Gillette Museum, please go. It's really cool. Some of the things that the department's been doing for years are a whole host of different types of extension meetings. This is an example of one led by Scott Nissen, where he had about 120 people bust around the state on a 110-degree day, learning about all sorts of different aspects of weed management. I learned so much that day, so I can identify cheatgrass now. So, and then an area that I think is going to grow, Whitney Crancha had a lot of foresight and has been working on hemp and has a nice hemp, industrial hemp insect site that's growing. The number of hemp growers in the States, industrial hemp growers, has doubled in the last year, and so I have to tell you, this is something I never thought in my life I'd be talking about. Here's a graduate student giving an extension talk on an ag research station about industrial hemp. And so I'm excited that I'm in a department that has the foresight to do this. I think that's enough because we have a lot of other departments to get through, so thanks.
Amy, thank you. Bugs that don't walk. I'll have to keep that in mind next time I'm in my kitchen. Hey, Dr. Haley Schnard's here to talk to us a little bit about ag and resource economics and some exciting things taking place there.
Great, thank you, James. So, I'm Haley Schnard from Agriculture and Resource Economics. I came here about a year ago, last July, so I've been here a little over a year, and I'm really excited to be here. I think CSU is a fabulous place, and my department is full of incredibly vibrant and wonderful people. So, let's see, how do I make it? There we go. So, in the last 18 months or so, we have some new faculty. So, we have Jude Bayham, who joined us as an assistant professor. He's an environmental and natural resource economist, is busy right now. He deals with disasters, particularly with wildfires and other sorts of natural capital and things, so he's a new addition to our faculty, as well as Dan Mooney, who I think is here. He is also joining us. He's an agricultural economist, also joined us as an assistant professor, deals with farm and ranch decision making, land ownership and land use, and lots of other things involving production and agricultural supply. Joshua Burning is here. He's just joined us this year. He's just been here a few months, and he's joined us as an associate professor. Also in agricultural economics, he deals on the consumer end of things. And so we're very, very pleased to have Josh here. And also Kathy Bruce is here. She's just started with us. She is our program assistant and graduate coordinator, and we already don't know what we'd do without her. So we're very, very happy that she's here. Like I said, it's a fantastic group of people, and I'm really, really honored to be a part of this group. So these are some of our new faces. I'm talking about some of our particular successes. Thinking about our students, our numbers continue to go up at undergraduate levels. We have 400 majors now. We have about 50 in agricultural education, 50 in environmental and natural resource economics, and 300 in agricultural business. Of the agricultural business students, we have about 115 or so that are online students, and so our online program continues to grow as well. And we're just really proud of those students. They're taking advantage of a lot of experiential learning. Our department is a big supporter of the trip to New Zealand, the study abroad program to New Zealand. Also, we've started a new faculty-led semester-long program that will be going this spring to Florence, Italy. And so we're really encouraging our students to be engaged in experiential learning, and they're really doing that. So we're really happy about that. Also, our master's degree in extension, which we've taken over, the agricultural education folks in our department have taken that over. That has really blossomed. So it's only been going for a year. We already have 35 students in that program. So it's really, just really blooming. In terms of research funding, that's also a real highlight for us. So I put FLU here, so instead of FEW, food, energy, water, we have food, land, energy, and water, because we deal in those things. On the food world, Becca Jablonski was leading a team that was awarded a FAR grant, so that's a $2 million grant, and we're really proud of that. Several other folks in the department and across the college and actually across the university are part of that as well. The faculty in the departments in 2017 and 2018, in addition to that, have garnered an additional $1.5 million in grants. USDA, NIFA, AFRI, ERS, other funders have funded our faculty. On the environmental side, land, energy, water, since 2017, PIs or co-PIs from our department have garnered over $5 million in grants. So we're pretty excited about that. That's also coming from USDA, NIFA, AFRI, the EPA, the Colorado Cattlemen's Association. Other funders are funding our environmental and natural resource work, so we're really, really pleased with that. Thinking about our extension program, we have some very wide extension activities going on. Our faculty finished, Dr. Greg Graff, Becca Jablonski, and Dawn Filmany just have really pulled together the final draft of the Colorado Blueprint for Agriculture, which is looking for opportunities in the agricultural value chain from the basic land resources all the way through to consumer purchasing and waste products and through the entire supply chain. And that has really been incredibly fruitful and well received by stakeholders. It's also directed some of their additional extension work. Also in an outreach activity that's been really vibrant in the department is looking at the liquid arts. So we've had some of our faculty engaging with brewers and distillers and thinking about the supply chain that's going on within that industry. And I think they've done a really innovative thing where they have partnered different folks across campus, not just from the college, but at every point along the supply chain. So hops growers all the way through to brewers and what kind of packaging they're producing and putting their products into. They've partnered industry with folks here on campus, and I think that's a really effective outreach activity. So that's exciting and really fun. Our department also thinking about the future and where we're going. We really care about the college's strategic plan, and we have put a discussion of inclusion and diversity into our strategic plan. And we're really happy to be involved with the Diversity Catalyst team and some of those members helping us thinking about diversity and inclusion with our faculty as we're hiring and training, additionally with our graduate students, training them as their students, but also as they're going out and being employees. We want to get them trained up, and thinking about ways to recruit a diverse population of undergraduate students and create an inclusive environment for them. And finally, we also, in the research world, thinking about the college's strategic plan, and agri-tech is very important with a focus on safety, security, and sustainability of food and resource systems. So in our strategic plan, we're thinking about different systems that we care about and that we conduct research in, and how they tie into the college's strategic plan. And so initially thinking about agricultural education systems and how perceptions, value, ideology impact education, agricultural education, and research. We're also focused on food systems, the bringing together of the urban and the rural linkages and this food systems supply chain and all that that entails. Also thinking about natural resource systems, thinking about agri-tech in the natural resource world. Of course, water is incredibly important, energy, climate change. These things are really important for the agricultural industry and sector of the economy. So this is where we're going with our strategic plan and how it matches up with what the college is doing. I'd now like to bring up Dr. Jessica Davis. She is the department head for horticultural and landscape architecture.
Thanks, Haley. Hi, everyone. I know it's getting late, so I'm going to be fast. We also are fortunate to have 5 new faculty hires this year in our department, and I'll just give you a brief introduction to each of them. Jessica Prenny, who I believe is here, over here, she came to us from the proteomics and metabolomics, what's the F for? Facilities? Facility, okay. And she joined us this past spring with a focus on food quality and safety. So she's going to be a really important part of our new emphasis in the area of produce safety. Joe Eakes came to us from Auburn University as an instructor, and he's teaching our Hort 100 class. That's our biggest class with 250 students every semester, plus also teaching plant propagation and one of our capstones. So he's doing a great job. Lori Catalano is a new faculty member in landscape architecture, and I got to tell you this about Lori on her interview. She really nailed this. One of the most dreaded topics for landscape architecture students is grading and drainage. They don't like this part. It involves math and it's kind of engineering-y. But so she took that on in one of her seminars during the interview. And she gave this great example of how grading and drainage can be inspiring. She used the Columbine Memorial as her example of how important grading and drainage was to create a space that was a place of comfort and healing after that horrible event. So there's really, she's a great teacher as far as, taking dry topics and making them inspiring. Scott Carmen also joined us in landscape architecture, and I wanted to mention something with him related to agri-tech. Scott has done this really neat work in Denver using GIS and GIS layers to look at urban agriculture and the different kinds of urban ag and where they would be best suited. So from everywhere from rooftop gardens to vacant lots and that kind of thing. So that's really an example of agri-tech. And then lastly, Josh Craver came to us from Purdue. Josh is here too. His focus is in controlled environment hort, which many of you may know is really very agri-tech focused as well. It's really all about controlling the environment to optimize photosynthesis and plant growth. And so we're excited to have him and this whole group of people here with us as we move forward. Another thing I really thought was important to point out today was that our student numbers are booming. And so what you see here, starting in 2008 with the recession, we had some decline and then leveling off. But in the last 2 years, we have grown by 150 students. So that has presented some challenges, and we feel like we're always running to keep up. But for example, we just added a 3rd lab section to plant propagation for spring. But this shows you the breakout of where that growth is. And I don't think I have a pointer here, but the green, this small green line at the bottom, that's the online horticulture program that just started really this past fall of 17. We're already at 68 students. And that is a pretty steep growth curve. We're not sure where that's going to level out. And then the other line you see here that's growing is the orange line in the horticulture major. So we're experiencing a lot of growth there in our floriculture and food crops programs. I also wanted to highlight that we don't just have growing student numbers, but the student quality is amazing. And so I'm going to show you a couple slides of some of our student groups. This is a group that competed at the Mid-American Collegiate Horticultural Society. They came in 2nd place last year, and then they hosted this competition here on campus just in September. And so they can't compete when they host because they're doing all the legwork and developing the competition itself. But they've done a great job. Another group is the students that compete in the National Collegiate Landscape Competition. This is a big competition. Over 60 universities compete, and our team comes in the top 5 almost every year. So this year they came in 3rd place, and we're planning on hosting this event this next year, actually during spring break, because to bring 60 teams to campus, we need people to clear out so we can fit them in. So we're working hard on getting ready to host that competition. I just mentioned briefly our research centers because we have faculty located at 3 of those research centers. We've already heard a little about the investment into the facilities at these centers this year. This is really important to us, not just for our faculty, but because it also provides opportunity for our students. And hopefully will also help us do a better job serving the growers in Colorado. And then lastly, I thought I'd just show you a little, how do we fit in to the college strategic plan? So you see the words here, you've probably got them memorized by now, right? At least the global preeminence part, right? So I'll focus on our part, where we could say we focus on plants, but we really decided that where our focus really is to enhance the well-being of humans. And we do that in lots of different ways. So the first way is through fruit and vegetable production and enhancing nutritional value, and of course the food safety related to that. So optimizing human nutrition. Then we have our turf program, and we have landscape designers who design parks and playgrounds, all of those that contribute to exercise, providing space for exercise, another important part of human health. Then we also work in ornamental plants and creating beautiful spaces. And you might think that beauty is frivolous compared to food production, right? But it really isn't. Is that this is key to us all having good emotional and mental well-being, that we have beautiful spaces around us. And then lastly, I'd point out that our landscape architects design spaces that bring people together, spaces like playgrounds and parks. So we're not just about individual health, but really about community health and well-being, because we are focused all the way from what you put into your mouth to getting together on a playground. So with that said, I'm going to pass the baton here to Matt Wallenstein from Soil and Crop Science.
Okay, I'm feeling the pressure of the clock there, so I will try to be brief. So this is my first opportunity to update you all on what our department's doing. It's been an awesome experience getting to know everyone in our department, learning about the history and the impact that our department has had on agriculture and on students in the past, and the opportunities that we have to build on that legacy. And it's an exciting time in agriculture. If we think about all the changes that have happened in recent decades, if we were to imagine what agro ecosystems are going to look like in 20 years, will they be utilizing the data that we get from drones and satellites in a more fundamental way? Will they be focused on things like polyculture or perennial crops? We don't know, but our department is really focused on the science to enable that technology and the science to help determine what the best practices are for any particular system. So we're in the process of developing our strategic plan. So this is all sort of a draft, but our vision is that we develop the agro-ecosystems of tomorrow, transforming environmental challenges into opportunities. So I really like how that encapsulates all the work that we do, and it depicts that the strength of our department is that we really connect all the pieces of those systems. So from breeding crops and developing the next generation of crops, utilizing agri-tech, things like new soil moisture sensors that Jay Ham's developing, or precision agriculture, and then tying that into soils and pollinators. So putting all those pieces together is really the critical aspect of helping to advance agriculture. And so that's what's really special about the research and the education that's happening in our department. So as we develop the strategic plan, these are sort of the draft focal areas that we want to work on. So first is we've been thinking deeply about the student experience. When we think about how we deliver, what our job is here to set our students up for successful careers and successful lives, it goes well beyond the traditional approach of just providing expert knowledge and subject knowledge to our students. There's so much more that goes into student success. We've talked about creating an inclusive environment that's critical, creating a supportive community. We also want to be focusing on what are the key skills and experiences that our students need to be prepared for careers. And that goes well beyond the knowledge they're going to gain here. They need to be set up for lifelong learning. They also need to be able to work collaboratively in teams. They need to be able to network. So we're collecting a lot of data, a lot of feedback from alumni and employers that's going to go into the specifics of how we enhance the student experience, which may include revisiting our curriculum. As we think about our research in particular, we want to grow in the areas of agri-tech, thinking about how we can apply agri-tech for sustainable ecosystems. So for example, that might include supporting new technologies that accelerate crop breeding. Right? So how do we accelerate and improve crops so that they can keep up with rapidly evolving challenges like pests, like climate change? And then finally, thinking about our graduate program. How do we attract and retain the best graduate students? How do we support them for, we know that most grad students don't end up in academic careers. Can we do a better job of training them for success in all sorts of different potential career paths? So we have 3 new faculty. So Kelly Wrighton and Mike Wilkins came in as part of the microbiome cluster hire. So both outstanding, highly productive scientists that have jumped right into the department and are contributing in lots of ways. Particularly, have had great success even since they were hired in bringing in research grants. So they have large labs already. It's addressing the agribiome part of the strategic plan. Maria Munoz-Amartrain is going to start in February. So she was hired into the pre-breeding plant genomics position. We're really excited to have her join us. We also were able to secure permanent positions for Jim Ippolito, soil fertility, and also for Arati, who looks at pollinator biology. We've also welcomed Ty. Is Ty here? Ty McMee is our new student success. So, it's my pleasure to introduce for his final update. This is my first update, and for his final update, Kevin Pond. You all know, in your department, you've known him as a great leader. Among the leadership of the college, we have 4 new department heads, and we're really going to miss Kevin because he has so much experience, and every time we think of some new initiative, he tells us an example of a great thing that they've already been doing in their department. So we're really going to miss you.
Oh, I'm reading the wrong one too. May need help, James.
Okay. This is our other stream, so let me put you back to the stream. Go ahead and get started.
Great.
I'll get it.
Greg, good to be here. Sorry, it is after 5. I will be quick. I got the memo that it was 7 slides in 3 minutes. So I'm sorry for having a delay in getting them up. A couple of things I think that are really exciting. We have actually have an interview going on right now, so a few of our faculty members had to leave to go with that. We have been actively involved with hiring one individual. We're really excited to have come here. You'll see her picture in a moment. That's Jasmine Dillon. Jasmine was one of those that we identified, many of us in the faculty identified early on as a potential faculty member because of her background. She's from Dallas. Went to Texas A&M, was involved with some animal in terms of pro-ag activities, and then went on to Penn State for a PhD. She's finishing her PhD, and she'll be coming and joining our beef systems group here next in this month of December. So we're excited about that. James, which one would I push?
Right hand side.
Right out of the ring. There you go.
Got it. Great. Students, this picture is of our incoming class at Fall Welcome. Our total number of students for majors in animal science are 531, equine science 360. Some of the percentages I think are particularly important. We have more out-of-state students than we have in-state students, so we're really helping the bottom line of the university in terms of the high dollar coming in. Unofficially, just through our surveys, about 80% of our students are identifying themselves as non-ag background. So you would think that there'd be higher in the animal science, but it's not. 85% female, and that's across all classes. This class coming in is higher percentage than that. Really proud of 30% first generation, 22% minority. This is what's self-identified that comes from research services, Institute for Research, sorry. The problem that we have with that, we're the department that's causing the biggest gap between students that are not first generation and are not minority. So we've got a lot of work to do in that. We also have 33 master's students and 27 PhDs, which are not included in those totals. We're really excited about our faculty. Awards are listed there, they're hard to read, but these are the faculty awards that received national and university awards during this past year, and it includes instructors, assistant professors, associate professors, and full professors, so we had the full gap covered. The other part, we had a really exciting time here this summer. We hosted the 50th Annual Beef Improvement Federation meetings that were attended by people from all over the country and world. That was exciting. In fact, one of our members, Scott Spidell, up in the upper right-hand corner, received one of his awards there at that meeting. Student awards, our student programs, we're very much into having our students compete against others in the nation. We had a very successful meat judging team. They were the representative for the United States at the Australian competition, and they won the international championship there. So we will have a hanging national championship, or in this case, international championship banners in the building in about 2 weeks. Our horse judging team won the Arabian Nationals. Their picture here on the bottom of the left. We've had also our Quiz Bowl team was the national champions again for meat science. Graduate students were all given awards. Maggie got like 4 awards this year, so I figured, well, put her picture up. We're really excited about the new facility. I know nobody else is because it's hurt our parking the last year, but that is coming back. I got a parking place at 10 o'clock this morning, so you can find parking spots there. We're really excited to move into that. Our move-in time is going to be, we'll be moving in December. The 19th is when they're supposed to have substantial completion, and then we'll be officially opening up in January. The open house and ribbon cutting will be March 1st. The other thing we're really excited about is the Temple Grande Equine Center. It will be for therapeutic and other activities associated with horses for humans. That will be at the Foothills campus, and groundbreaking for that will occur during this year. What's next? Close to 3 minutes. New livestock management major. We're teaming up with DARE to create a new major. As you look through the boxes that Jesse showed us earlier, there's not many ways to get new money. This is one. So we're doing that as a moneymaker and also to meet the needs that our industry is telling us we need to have. In addition, we're expanding online offerings. We did offer an online Introduction to Animal Science class for non-majors. So for non-majors, that would include any of your students who are interested in animal science. That would be a great one to take online. We also have an agreement that we'll probably sign next month or early January with China, Southwest University in China. It's another one through the provost office that does have money that's associated with it, for the students that come in, so it's a way of increasing our student numbers and not relying on 236. So we're very excited about that. And we have 2 positions that we're filling immediately. One that's a teaching reproduction position and a meat science faculty member that we're interviewing for right now. But we still have 4 open positions, including mine. So we're shorthanded as usual. Great. Thank you very much.
Well, Kevin, before you go, so this is Kevin's last departmental update. Over the last nearly 7 years now, what you have seen happen in the Department of Animal Sciences has been rather phenomenal. What I see there is his external focus that has brought reputation to this department. If you've seen the Animal Sciences building, the new JBS Global Food Innovation Center, you see the national stature of the department. Above all, what I have been struck in the last 4 years about Kevin is his commitment to students. I have seen him at national conventions, at other trade shows, and he's always with the students, shepherding them from one place to another so that they can get the visibility they need so that they can get placed. I have seen that firsthand, right? And as a result, what you have done is become a role model for the other department heads. The new department heads tell me they come to you to find out how do you do the external relationships the way you do. So you've made a profound, profound difference in the life of this college. So we do thank you for that. Thank you very much. And so I stand between you and dinner or drinks, whichever it is. But there are some more announcements that you want to finish, but we'll do that. And but I won't come back up here just so that no handouts needed here. Please, anything that you have heard today that you need more answers, more clarifications, you would like to comment more on, please. It's not that difficult to reach me. J.Menon at AllCollegeFall2018. Right, please. Or it's 117 Shepherdson. Come knock on the door and I might be there. Okay? Yeah.
Thanks, Jay. Hey, just a couple things quick. We'll be around to answer questions after we're done. If there's something that was compelling that you want to catch up on before you go on to the next thing, we'll be here to do that. Just a reminder, Saturday we're going to graduate a bunch of students. We get the chance to do that in the Laurie Student Center. We're going to do that, not this Saturday, December 15th. It's, between me and the bed is where we are right now. But we'll do a reception as before. We'll have a great ceremony. It's a real tight, exciting ceremony. Really love to get the faculty and staff there to support those students. It's a great time for us to be able to do that. And just want to tell you, we had a great Research Center conference last year. We're going to do this again. It's a chance for us to get the Research Center folks on campus. We can engage with them. We can celebrate all the hard work that they do. They don't get many chances to do that. So let's take the opportunity to be able to engage with them. That's going to be Tuesday, January 8th through Thursday, January 10th. More details to come. Hey, thanks for all the hard work you do. Have a great evening and a great end of the semester. Look forward to working with you some more.